Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. Each week we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story to share or have comments about the podcast? We would love to hear from you. Just email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and connect with us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. This is BJ Odom, you know, the guy with more parts than a chicken nugget. My new book, packed with laughs, heart, and an unbelievable true story of survival that you've heard us talk about right here on the Gift of Life podcast. Get your copy today, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, available on Amazon. As we welcome you to episode 106. Some of the most powerful transplant journeys aren't just about survival, they're about love, showing up when it matters. This week on The Gift of Life, we share the incredible story of Melissa and her daughter Haley. When Melissa learned she needed a double lung transplant, Haley didn't hesitate, stepped in as her caregiver, even with miles between them. With a supportive family and an unbelievable bond, they faced every challenge together. This is a story of sacrifice, strength, and a daughter's love that helped give her mom a second chance at life. Welcome to the Gift of Life. We'll be talking with Melissa and Haley coming up next. It's an honor to have you both on the show today. We have Melissa and Haley. So let's get things kicked off. Haley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Haley. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I have an awesome husband, Rich, and a wonderful daughter, Ava, who's 11. So I'm just starting to dip my toes into parenting a teenager. The struggle is real. I work in tech and just love going to the beach and hanging out and living here in South Carolina. I don't know what else to say.
Well, that's a good start. Now, actually, we have Mom on the phone too, Melissa. Melissa, tell us just a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Just a little about myself. Well, I actually don't live in South Carolina. I live in Wisconsin. And, I know we're here to talk about the transplant. And that's it. 13 years ago, I was diagnosed with a kind of a rare interstitial lung disease and did well for a long time. You know, it slowly progressed. And then the last year and a half is when it got pretty bad. So that was when I was not able to do the things that I, love doing. And, I love traveling and, getting around and all those sort of things, but it took a hit, and that's why I'm here today, actually.
All right. Well, daughter,
like living.
Yeah. Well,
because I had the transplant.
Well, I had a heart transplant in 2003, and then I had to get a kidney because of all the meds in 2015. But we all have our struggles, but I'm doing pretty good today. So now your daughter is in, South Carolina. You are in Wisconsin. Where were you both when you found out you needed the transplant?
I was here in Wisconsin, and I'm at one of the best hospitals that you could be at, thankfully. And then Haley came in when I had that surgery and stayed with me for the first month, because that is one of the things that when you're going to get a transplant, as you would know, that's one of the requirements is you have to have a backup, like a support system, because there's no way you can go home after something that traumatic and be able to take care of yourself. They won't let you. So at least where I went, they wouldn't even consider you, because you're pretty much probably going to fail, and that is not what they're about. You know, they want to do the best they can to respect the organs that somebody gets and make sure that they are well taken care of, the person and the organs. They want to preserve them as well they should. So yeah, that was a requirement, and Haley came and stayed with me, and then I have several sisters and a mom, and they all took turns to come and stay with me. It was definitely
tricky thinking about the logistics because I am so far away. So that part was a challenge. There was a lot of just me wondering how it was all going to work when she got that call, and how quickly I could get out there and things like that. But, there wasn't a question in my mind that we would make it work and that I would make it work. But yeah, it was an added layer of anxiety for sure, at least on my end, trying to figure out how I'm going to get there exactly when she needs. But it all worked out exactly how it was supposed to. And yeah, it was great.
Now, Haley, how hard was...
And you also she also coordinated everybody else coming. So she worked with the rest of my family, who is they live 2 hours north of me. So she also coordinated that for each one of them to come down at different times. Because the main thing was, obviously, I needed somebody, but then I also couldn't drive. And after a transplant, you're at the hospital constantly for follow-ups and therapy and rehab, and it's like a full-time job. So they had to take me everywhere. So, yeah.
Well, one good thing, you went for quite a while, Melissa, and after you were diagnosed, before things really got rough and tough. So when did things really turn south and you were told that you were going to need a transplant?
Oh, that was a nightmare. That would have been a year ago this past fall. So like a year and a half ago. Over the summer I had caught a few things, and every time you'd catch something, you kind of, at least for me, I would get sick and then you kind of get back, but you never quite get back to your baseline. So that summer I was probably sick 3 times. And by, maybe like the 4th time I ended up in the ER, and that's when they came in and they had a transplant doctor come and talk to me. And I wasn't a real happy camper because I usually always bounce back. And he was talking to me about a transplant. And It was pretty horrifying, actually, to hear that.
I was going to ask you both. So, Melissa, how did you feel when you learned that that was going to be your next step, a transplant?
Oh, it was really scary. And then, the things that he was telling me, he and I did let him know this, my doctor, after he became my doctor, and I got a really good relationship with him. But this is the first time I met him. And he was telling me, giving me all of the things about a transplant. But I felt like he was telling me all the kind of the negatives of it. And that was hard. But it was really, now looking back, it was all the side effects of medications, really, that can happen, because it's the meds that cause any of these negatives that he was trying to tell me about. But he's a very honest person. And a person needs to know that going into it. But I just wanted to hear more of, hey, what's your life like after the transplant? So I did mention that to a couple, a doctor that I saw after, and then the coordinators and different people. And I'm like, yeah, I really felt like I didn't hear that, and I need to hear that.
That was one of the things. And
then they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that was one of the first things I did when I learned that I needed a transplant. I was going to, it was getting close that I needed one. I reached out to the support group in my community. Thank God we had one. And I got to know some people right away. And in fact, I was doing a radio show back then. And the first gentleman I met who had a heart transplant like me, I said, I got to get more information about this. And I had him on my radio show kind of explaining what he went through. And I think when you hear that word transplant, it scares the living bejesus out of you.
Yeah.
But once you hear from a survivor, that helps so much. Now,
you're absolutely right. That's what happened to me too.
Yeah.
With it, hearing from a survivor, because one of my son's friends, like a year before, had mentioned we were talking about lungs, and he had mentioned just in passing a friend that he had that had a transplant. And I always remembered that. I don't know why. It just stuck in my head. And then I reached out when I had heard that, and he very willingly came and visited me to talk to me. And that was what I needed. And then, things kind of moved forward from there. But I needed to hear that as well from a survivor. And he was like, oh, yeah, and then I heard all the things and how his life changed and that. But he was from a different perspective than the doctor, So, that you're absolutely right. It was key to me making my final decision to move forward.
Now, Haley,
and feel good about it.
How did you feel, Haley? Because I know my son, because talking, to his partner in life, it wasn't, the best situation for him, although he didn't let me see how afraid he was. How did you handle when you first heard the words that Mama needed a transplant?
I think I probably, felt similarly, or at least on a lower level as my mom hearing it for the first time, but it was definitely really tough, really shocking. I think it was one of those things that's like, I've watched her disease progress over all these years, and I've watched her manage it. And I think she managed it, really, really well, in the fact that she's so strong, and she didn't I just didn't know that we were at this point. And then all of a sudden we had arrived, and it was one of those, I don't know if I can say this, but one of those like, oh shit moments, like this just got really real. And also the timing of what she was going through, and then me finding out and going through those feelings, it was different, because I do remember she went through her process of like, okay, this is happening. And then by the time she had come to me to really say, we're doing this, like I'm doing this, I want this transplant, she was almost more at peace with it, or at least that's how it came across. I know I've said this to you before, Mom.
Yes.
And so then I went through kind of a little bit of a spiral, if you will. Like I was just really in this, it was a pretty dark place. I'm not going to lie. It almost felt like a grieving process of like, the life and the experience that we've had is going to be drastically different moving forward. And yeah, it was definitely really hard, but I know I had to feel that, and I had to go to those, like the depths of those dark places to think, a little bit of the worst, to get through that and to wrap my head around it, because that is the only way that I was able to full circle back around and like step up and be what I needed to be for her to help her get better. So yeah, it was really tough for sure, but just one of those things you have to go through, you have to get through. And even though we were at different stages and, mental spaces through the process and not always on the same page, we definitely stayed connected and even supported each other through it. I felt guilty, like at certain points, if I was having a rough day or whatever, because I'm like, I'm not going to talk to my mom about this because this is her experience. You know what I mean? But somehow we still found a way to support and be there for each other. It was actually, really awesome.
Even though my children were in the same town as I was, my wife was still my major caregiver. But I remember, she had to go through those interviews and things like that. And which I'm assume since you were going to be her caregiver, you had to go through all of that also. So what was that process like for you, especially being so far away from each other?
Yeah, there definitely was a lot of like doubts, like, oh my gosh, am I really going to be able to like pull this off, being so far away? But she has an incredible team. And as soon as I like touched base with them and got to know them, like her, Jenny's your social worker? I forget.
She's social worker.
Yeah. Yep. I connected with her first. She kind of just put me right at ease. She got me connected with a caregiver support group, which truly was a lifeline in that waiting phase. And then the transplant coordinators were just incredible. We did as much over the phone as we could, as far as like conversations and just information. They sent over a lot of literature. I just tried to research and like attend webinars and do as much as I could to prepare. And it did really like pay off. I'm really glad that I just jumped in as soon as I got through the initial, like, okay, we're doing this. It was like game time. Something clicked in my head and I'm like, all right, now I just need to know everything there is to know. And so her team really helped with that, and also helped like ease the concerns of like, it's going to be okay, even though you've got a flight to catch and all that. And one thing that helped too, this was advice I got from a person at the caregiver support group, which was a virtual group, people all over the country, was I made, since you can't control the timing of that or timing of anything really, I made checklists based on like the phase that we were in. And that really made me feel like I had some control, even though I didn't realistically. But it just helped me feel prepared in that, like, okay, when this happens, here's what I need to do. And then when we reach this milestone, here's what I need to do. And so, yeah, that really helped me. And that support group was incredible. I think you might actually have interviewed George.
George.
Who's awesome.
And he has a support group for caregivers. And in fact, he was just on a few weeks ago when we talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah. George is awesome.
Now, you're married, you have children. How rough was the time you had to spend with your mother, or did they kind of come along, or did, your husband still need to continue to work? Maybe you brought your son with you. I'm not for sure, but how did what was that process for you like?
Yeah. So, I definitely need to take a second to just shout out, my husband for being who he is, because none of this would have happened or been able to happen if it wasn't for him. Truly, he's just like been so supportive in all stages of our life. And this was just another example of that, because, when all this was transpiring and we knew like I was going to be out there for a while, there just wasn't ever really even a conversation about it. And that's just how he rolls. He's just like, yep, this is all right. This is what we're doing. I will pivot. I will adjust. And yeah, I I just can't thank him enough, because he held it down for, I think it was like almost 6 weeks in total that I was gone. Got my daughter to school, got her to sports, all of that. So it was, wouldn't have been possible without him. And it's a big part of why I was able to fully kind of check out and focus on taking care of my mom too, just because, I just knew he had it covered.
So now, Melissa, you're to the point now where the transplant is needed. Up to the days before you got the call, were you in the hospital, or how was your life at that moment?
Yeah, I actually was in the hospital because, I had been at home, but I ended up getting, long story short, ended up getting some blood clots. And when I got in the hospital, I think they thought they were going to release me. And it turned out that I couldn't be released because of the amount of oxygen that I needed. So I ended up, they kept me and then kind of said, well, you're not going home. You got to stay here while you're waiting. And it could be months, it could be weeks, it could be days, we don't know, obviously. And then I think probably like a day, and I had been up there for like 2.5 weeks. And so that was tough, because I'm like, oh my God, I got to stay here. Who knows how long I'm going to be here. And it was like a day and a half later. But then when I got the call, it was interesting because I sort of thought it was a prank call. I didn't know. And then I didn't answer the first one. I was in the bathroom, and then they called right back again. And I was like, what? This is weird. And then they told me, and it was just very surreal when I got the call. I'd been waiting for it, right? You know what it feels like. You get that call, and, it just can happen anytime. It's just a really exciting, but yet scary feeling.
Now, I remember my call. Well, actually, I was in the hospital, and the nurse came in and told me, well, they found a heart for you, and we're going to be doing it in the morning. And my family was about 2.5 hours away from the hospital, because I was in the hospital also and had to call them to get them in town.
Oh,
but now how was it? Now, how was it with your daughter? Was she in town already, or was she out in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach?
Yeah, she was still in South Carolina, and my whole family was still, up where they live, and nobody was here. But I called right away. I called my mom and my kids, because I have a son that lives here by me, and then to let them all know. And then my mom passed around to all my sisters, and they all just right away made plans to be here by a certain time the next day when they said it was going to take place. And then Haley just jumped on a plane. You'd have to tell how quick. I just know you got here. I didn't see you when I went in, but you were here. You showed up like shortly thereafter.
Oh, yeah. So now I have another question for Haley then. So mom went down for the transplant surgery. You had not arrived yet?
Yeah.
Now
No. So
this is going to be a tough question, but how did you feel? Because I know both of my kids were there when I went down, and you're positive, but yet you have that thought in the back of your mind, this may not work out. How was that for you, and how did you feel not making it, and she had already been taken down to the OR?
Yeah, definitely nerve-wracking for sure. I think so. I was actually out to dinner. Rich and I were out at dinner, and you had called once and I missed it, and then you called again, and I could just hear like in your voice, I was like, oh, this is it. Like I just knew. And I don't know. When I mentioned earlier, like something just kind of switched in my brain, that I don't know. It's like I just go into this mode of like, all right, let's get shit done, and we got home. I booked a flight for the next day. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it to see her before, but I knew I'd land and be there for when she woke up. And so that was really important to me. One of my good friends picked me up from the airport and dropped me off. There are lots of thoughts that cross your mind. But like I said earlier, I kind of almost tried to like get all that out of my system early on and like sit with those really heavy feelings, because I knew it was important for me to have it together and to, take care of what needed to be taken care of. So I tried to just, be strong and be there for her. But yeah, easier said than done for sure.
Now, Melissa, was this a single or double? It was a double lung transplant, right?
Yeah, it was a double lung transplant.
Now, how long did it take you to really, like you said, you wanted to get back to your baseline. How long was it before you got back to your so-called baseline? And then I wouldn't doubt you were maybe even a little better than your baseline after things really got settled. Am I correct? Or just tell me how things went.
You mean in my recovery?
Yes.
You're talking my recovery?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, gosh, I don't even know. I'm still working at it, because it's like with some of those side effects, you kind of don't know if you're going to get tired one day versus the next.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I did pretty good. I started walking really quickly, and just had to build up that strength again, because as strong as you are, because that is the one thing I would emphasize, and I do to anybody else that I've met that's getting a transplant. Try to stay strong, keep exercising, don't stop moving, because it's so important in your recovery, because you lose all your muscle. I don't know what it is when you're on that operating table, you come out like with no muscles left. It's strange. And so it really helps to kind of have had that sort of endurance before you go in as much as you can, because you are sick before you go in. But yeah, it was just, I just had to, and then I had Haley there encouraging me to get up and walk, and we would take walks after. So it was just what was it, Haley? I had a goal, my pulmonary rehab goal, because I asked my doctor, well, when can I be done with this? And he said, well, you've got to be able to go up 7 flights of stairs. I think he just threw this out to test me. I'm not sure, because he knew me. I really do, because I talked to everybody else, and they're like, what? 7 flights of stairs? And so he had 7 flights of stairs and walked 3 miles without stopping. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, you got to do that. And so before I could stop rehab, and then, I don't know, it was by October I could do that. And that was, what was that? How many months later? September, October, 4 months later.
Like 4, yeah.
So,
but you know what?
Yeah.
In terms of the oxygen itself, before the surgery, she was on like maximum flow. That's why they couldn't discharge her from the hospital. And I think she was 3 days post-transplant. And I remember walking in the room that morning, and it's one of those things where you're like, oh, something looks different, but you can't quite put your finger on it. She had no oxygen tubes in, and they completely removed like any like supplemental oxygen support. And so in that sense, like, she still works so hard at restoring like her strength and all of that. But in terms of breathing, like she could freaking breathe. It was awesome.
No.
Yeah, that was true. Yeah.
Now to compare, did you see your mother very much before the surgery, or was it really you kind of waited a couple months and then she got the call and you got it? Because what I wanted to ask, but I guess it wouldn't be fair, how you remembered your mother the last time you saw her, maybe when she was going through the problems, and then when she woke up, did you see a difference like right away? Like, oh wow, there's my mom again.
Yeah, it definitely, every time I would visit and, she got to the point where she really couldn't come out here. But even her last time visiting out here, I could just tell, and we were to the point where when she would come visit, we would call the oxygen medical supply store and get that delivered here. And that was just something that we had gotten used to over time. But then the last time that I came,
I needed it to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last time, after she was officially put on the transplant list, I forget why I came up to visit. I think it was just, I could tell things weren't going so well and you were needing, I don't know, just stuff around the house or whatever to kind of prepare. And so I flew out and I remember her going from the living room to the kitchen, and then she gripped the countertop and was white knuckling it, and she had her oxygen on, and it was so hard for her to get from one room to the other. And in that moment I was like, oh my gosh, this is really bad. And I was just really relieved that she was already on the list and we were moving towards the transplant, because that was it was right after she had gotten another lung infection that kind of made everything worse. And so, yeah, it was really, really hard to see her like that. And then knowing that things even got worse after I had left with the blood clots and all of that, but it wasn't 2.5 months after that she had gotten her transplant. So, then seeing her after the surgery and everything and without oxygen, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just good to see her without that.
Melissa, how are you doing today, actually?
2 days?
Well, now
or just
we can do today, or we can do yesterday.
I'm littler.
Whatever day you had the best day here this week.
Well, it's gonna be. I asked that because every day is different.
Yeah, it is.
It's it is right now.
And I can agree with that. There's some days that I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just getting, and then there's others days, oh, life is great. It's wonderful. And,
Yeah, it's true. And I think everybody goes through that, right? It's just, I think you notice it more after you've been through this, and it's just, you kind of get those days where it's I can't do anything today. But no, I feel good. It feels good to have energy and to be able to get out and about and do my running around. I'm not hauling. A year ago, I was running around, but I was carrying an oxygen tank with me, because I had one of those little concentrators that kind of runs, you charge it. So I felt like I always told Haley, I said, I'm on a timer because I got to make sure my battery doesn't run out. Because the thought of that was made me panicky because I needed it. And then I got to where that wasn't enough. So I had to carry around a tank, which that was not fun, but I had to do it because I had to get around and do stuff. I still did. I live by myself. So,
Now,
the timing. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the timing of the oxygen and the battery and making sure the tanks don't run out and everything. I know that was a huge source of anxiety for her too. It's just, you could tell, making sure if we're running around or doing errands when I would visit, we were always kind of planning around that. And I just can't imagine how stressful that was.
Yeah, it really was,
Yeah, nothing like
you gotta, and then you gotta kind of figure out how much well, if I do that, then I'm going to require more oxygen. So then my oxygen tank's not going to last as long. But if we just do this, then it'll last longer because I don't have to turn it up as much. It's just strange things like that. But you have to watch all those things, Thank God I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you ladies go, I'm going to let you both kind of give you both an opportunity to maybe something I missed or something you really want to, discuss here before we let you go. So I guess since you got the double lung transplant, Melissa, well, maybe I should give the daughter the word before the last word.
I was hoping she would go first this time.
Okay. Well, we'll have Melissa. Wrap up her final words if there's anything we missed or anything important that you want to say.
Well, I guess the most important thing is, I'm so thankful to the Lord. I'm blessed that I've got these healthy lungs, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So I just would encourage anybody that's going through it, just keep your chin up and see the positives in it, because even though there's some things you go through, it's worth it. And that's basically what I can say, because your life will change and you'll feel back that you got your life back as like a second chance again. So, and I think I'm speaking for most people that have had transplants for really, not just lung transplant. So, I think that would be it. I just want to encourage anybody and keep moving, even though you feel like crap beforehand, you know what I mean? Because you can get disqualified if you get too sick. Some people think, oh, well, maybe if I got worse, I'd get picked sooner, but that's not really the case. You have to be able to, you have to stay qualified to be able to get a set of lungs.
It's
not easy.
It's a fine balance. Yeah, it is. It's a fine balance. Because I know with my heart, I had to have a bypass surgery. And they said, well, you need a heart transplant, but you're really not sick enough. So you're going to have to get the bypass surgery. And they lost me during the bypass surgery, but thank God they got me back.
Oh my God.
And then it was like a few months later that I actually, I would say maybe 6 months after maybe even a year. As you get older, your time it's hard to keep track of. But then it was, around a year probably after that I got the bypass, and I got sick enough where then I was, eligible to get the transplant, but not in between. And sorry to interrupt you there, but I just thought I'd throw that in there.
No, no, that's good. You went through it too, so
Now, have you met the donor?
That's it.
Have you met the donor by any chance?
No.
I've not met any of my donors.
Well, the donor I wouldn't be able to meet.
Oh yeah, but the family.
The donor I can. Yes. The family, no, I have not. The one thing is they reached out to the surgeon like maybe a couple months after, and they wanted to know about me. So they, asked some information about me, and then they asked if it was okay for them to share it. And I'm like, well, absolutely. You can let them know. I think they were curious to know about something about the person that got their family members' organs, So, yeah.
Yeah, I've never met him.
I've not met him.
Yeah, I've never met. Actually, both of my donors, my heart and kidney, were both deceased. So, yeah, I've never, heard back from any of the families, but I sent that all-important letter. Well, Haley, I guess we saved you. We saved you for last, Haley.
Well, I'm glad you guys gave me time to think. No.
Anything we missed or anything you'd like to make sure gets out there in the world before we let you both go?
I would just say from a caregiver's perspective, that saying, you cannot pour from an empty cup, rings so true in the scenario of being a caregiver, because it's really hard to like prioritize myself. Like that's something I struggle with, just, self-care, journaling, meditating, things like that. Those are all practices that I picked up and I stuck with through the whole process. And I truly believe that allowed me to take the best possible care of my mom. And so that would just be the one thing that I would want to share is for caregivers, like prioritize taking care of you, because that's going to be one of the best things you can do in order to help you be a better caregiver. And get plugged into a community, find somebody who has been in your shoes, because I love my friends. I love, my extended family, but there's just something to be said about speaking to somebody who has literally walked what the walk you're walking. And I got connected thanks to my mom's social worker at the hospital. I got connected to 2 other women who also cared for their parents. And so especially being that, we had that commonality, they were a lifeline for me. And so, having a community and support is really important, and doing some things for yourself just for that peace of mind are really, really important. And also, just a big advocate of folks being organ donors now and making sure that, they double check and that they're able to do that as well. That's just a cause after all of this that's super important to me.
Can I just make one comment about the caregiving?
You sure can.
Even though I wasn't a caregiver? Yeah, with Haley, I think one important thing too, and let me know if I'm wrong, Haley, is making sure that you surround yourself by more positive people as well. Because everybody's experience with it is different and everybody's attitude is different. And I think when you hooked up with some of those more positive people, that really helped you, because you know what I mean? It's easy to get wrapped up in negativity, and that's hard, to get through it.
I was going to mention that and I forgot. So thank you. Because also practicing gratitude. That was something that me and you were doing together throughout your recovery. Remember, we're like, yep, today's a good day. Like this happened and that happened. Even in the midst of maybe not so great things happening, focusing on the good really carried us through. It really carried me through. And I had to, I feel like just make a conscious choice to focus on the positive, and it helped as well.
And then you journaled it too, which is really cool. Yeah. Taking pictures of me and progress and all that kind of stuff. That'd be a good recommendation for people. You won't be sorry even if you don't like pictures being taken of yourself.
And my wife's always doing that to me, and I go, quit taking my picture. Quit taking my picture.
It's important though. I think the experience itself is a trauma of sorts for everybody, like closely involved. It was traumatic for my mom. It was traumatic for us as her kids. It's a scary thing, but the best thing to try to do with that is just like feel all those feelings and stay present, and don't just shove it down and not want to deal with it, because with any trauma, with anything in life, it's going to resurface. It's going to come back up. And I think, I don't want to toot our own horn too much, Mom, but I think we just did a really good job of like just talking about it and crying and feeling it and laughing. And, you got to do that. You can't just gloss over what just happened. And so I would hope people would feel encouraged to do that too.
Thank you so much, Melissa and Haley, for sharing your story with us today on The Gift of Life. And be sure to join us each week for a new heartfelt episode. And if you have a transplant story, email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, and also don't forget to like and share this episode with family and friends. And we would appreciate your 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Reminder, my memoir, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, isn't just a medical story. It's a survival story filled with humor, hope, and heart. It'll make you laugh, maybe even cry, and definitely believe in second chances. Get yours now on Amazon. Another podcast you might enjoy is myself and my former radio partner, Bill Stevens. BJ and Bill, the podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. And we want to thank them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.
He was running on empty, heart fading fast. Doctor said, man, you ain't gonna last. But a stranger's kindness, a gift so true, turned the night sky into something new. He got a second chance, he got a brand new spark. Like a freight train rolling back from the dark. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. 15 years later, the road got rough. The fight ain't over when the climb is tough. Needed a kidney, the race was on. Another hero stepped up, kept him strong. Every breath he takes is a tale of hope. One life saved, another can cope. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. Doctor's hands, a donor's grace, running on down to a brand new place. Second chances don't come twice, but when they do, man, they feel so nice. So let's spread the word, let the people know. One yesterday lets a miracle grow. You don't need wings just to save a man, just a little love, a helping hand. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. BJ still rocking, still standing tall, thanks to the ones who gave it all. Gift of life, hear the sound. Pass it on, pass it down. The Gift of Life podcast, hosted by BJ Odom. Listen now.